securely, in a safely manner, ethically, and also with proper governance according to the enterprise governance aspects and values, and policies and directions. So this artificial intelligence is what, for example, ISO 27001 is to information security, is like the premises and the base for information security. ISO 9001 is for quality, and ISO 301 is to compliance. It's the same logic. So let's start also talking about some definitions that we have to have in mind. So first, let's mention what is artificial intelligence. Let's give a definition for this. So AI is the capability of computer systems to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. So it's not necessarily that they are going like to replace human intelligence, but they can help us in activities that the company is supposed to accomplish. So these tasks include learning for data, recognizing patterns, making decisions, and understanding language and solving problems. And AI systems are also based in mathematical models and algorithms to help like the best decisions. On the other hand, AI strategy is the organizational plan that defines how AI will be used to achieve business objectives in a controlled, valuable, and responsible way. So artificial intelligence, as I have just mentioned the definition, will support AI strategy, and AI strategy will support the whole organizational strategy and values and business goals. So a strong AI strategy also defines roles, governance, risk management, compliance, and a long-term integration of AI into business and process. So if you have to think about a diagram or a figure, this is illustrated here. So there is a hierarchy like between these concepts. So artificial intelligence itself is, we can understand like AI technology, algorithms, softwares, data, and they support AI strategy. And AI strategy is related like to plan and leverage AI for business value and the business objectives. So AI strategy is also supporting the business strategy, and business strategy is supporting the corporate strategy, So there is a overall connection like for artificial intelligence strategy in supporting the whole mission, vision, and objectives of the organization. So AI does not exist by itself alone. And also the corporate strategy does not reach its objective alone. So artificial intelligence and AI strategy can be seen as vehicles to support the corporate strategy and the corporate mission and objectives of existence. And the real problem that we have here, like I would say also an executive problem, is that artificial intelligence without alignment fails. So it's important to have a very clear and strategic alignment between the corporate mission, the AI strategy, and functions and objectives. So the key message here is that most AI initiatives fail due to the lack of business alignment. It's very important to have this alignment between business and corporate goals. So let's talk more about AI and AI strategy. So we have some strategic objectives in our organization. So AI supports the core business priorities like revenue growth, cost reduction, risk mitigation, operational efficiency, customer experience, or competitive advantage in the market, and compared also to other players. And for this, we have to have, for example, first, the business goals. We have business goals, corporate mission. Then, according to this, we are going to choose the best AI strategy. And then we are going to plan the AI systems and also what can be used to reach those objectives. And then we have to measure this in a business value, right? So the ISO 42001 provides a framework to govern AI responsibly, align AI with business objectives, manage all the risks that will be related in the situation, ensure accountability and transparency. It's a must do. Even when you think about like the corporate risk management, corporate like accountability and transparency to stakeholders and the market. We have also to enable scalable and sustainable AI adoption. And this ISO defines an artificial intelligence management systems. It's also known as AIMS, and I'm going to talk more about this. So what is the system like this concept AIMS, Artificial Intelligent Management Systems? So it's similar to ISO 27001, that is the base for information security, or ISO 9001, that is for quality. So an AIMS ensures that artificial intelligence is strategically aligned with the corporate mission, the process, the business value, everything that is related. So also this AIMS, it's risk control, it's properly governed or managed, and there is accountability inside the corporation. And also there is a continuously improved approach. So it's something that we have to monitor constantly, maybe set some indicators and establish a plan. Also, it's business driven, so we have to reach like the final value and objectives. So for this, on the side of the GRC inside the company, we have like policies that will guide us value and procedures and quality. So we have like policies, then we are going from the policies, we can understand the process that we have to have. According to the process, we have to establish controls. Everything should be constantly monitored. So we have like to keep like monitoring activities. And in the end, we have like to make some improvements. And also it's something that is a cycle and something that never ends and something that has to be done constantly. Also, we have, if we have something that changes in the environment, we have also to keep in mind that we have to monitor and to make some necessary adjustments. So the core principles that we have like in the business alignment when we are using artificial intelligence is that artificial intelligence must be aligned with organizational objectives, right? So key alignment requirements, they have to define AI objectives, that the AI objectives are linked to business strategy. So they by themselves, they do not exist alone. They have to have like a communication effectively. So we have also to identify the stakeholders and their needs, their priorities. We also what we have like to provide to stakeholders. We have to define measurable AI value outcomes. Then we have also to ensure that there is an executive accountability inside the corporation, and there must be an integration, transparent integration, like between AI with like the enterprise governance. So the AI governance must be connected with the corporate governance. There should be accountability, there should be comparison. Everything must happen together and with like a smooth communication. So when we think about governance, let's talk about this. So governance, I can tell you that it is the foundation of the alignment for everything, not only for AI, but for every new technology, for process, for systems, legacy systems, all the resources that we have in a corporation. Governance is the foundation for all the alignment. So ISO 42001 establishes a clear governance through defined roles and responsibilities, executive oversight, and it's also connected like to risk like supervision, responding and giving like compliant aspects like to supervisors, audit, the third line of defense. Also, AI policies and the standards, they have like to be clear inside the corporate. And there must be a risk ownership. We have to have accountability, and someone must like respond to those risks, the level of risk, the level of damages, and also those controls, like the treatment that the corporation are going to give like to the appropriate risk. And also there must be a decision-making structure inside the corporation. An example that we have that you can mention for this situation is that, for example, board and executive leadership, they must be in charge and they must be aligned to everything that happens. There should be an AI governance committee that will also have communication with the corporate committee and governance committee as a whole. There should be a risk management for AI and also technical teams that will deal into the operational side. So let's talk about a risk-based approach. When we think that a corporation is going to adopt and use a technology, not necessarily AI, but every new technology, we have to have in mind that risk mustn't be neglected. So we have to think that risk, according to ISO 30001, this ISO, it's another ISO, it's not the 40002 one, but ISO 30001 says that risk is something that affect the objectives of the organization, And this risk may be something positive or negative, but we have like the false paradigm that we think that risk is something negative, but primarily risk is not something negative at all. So risks can also be something positive. Risks can also add value to organization. Risks can also identify or define a new strategy, new approach, a new business opportunity, and new opportunities to add value to the corporation and environment as a whole. So every new technology, including AI, we have to have a risk-based approach, and risk must be identified, monitored, managed, and also we have to define clear accountability and clear ways and definitions that we are going to give to those risks. So AI introduces in the corporate environment the risks, and ISO 40000 for the 2001 also requires organization to identify and manage them. So we have to think a different like category of risks. So firstly, we are going to have like different like operational risks. Then we also maybe have like ethical risks, even because AI, depending on the company, may also be treating and dealing with like personal data. So we have to connect with ethical aspects. It's a must do. Then, for every technology, we have some bias and like fairness risks that we have to identify and manage them as well. Then we have compliance risks that will be connected with the technology, the corporate environment, or institutional environment itself. Then we have to think about reputational risks and how those risks will affect the value of the company, and also the model of failures that we have like to establish some indicators, some key values, some triggers, and also some scenarios what would like the corporate would act if some event of risk materialize. So we have to have in mind everything, and also to have some plans predefined in the component, and also to perform then if like some risk materialize. So the key principle here is that no AI without risk management. So risk management is for everything. As I told you, I mean, just like saying again or reinforcing this statement, that for every technology, including AI, we have to think about risk management framework and also to manage them constantly. It's very important because by the end of the day, we are talking about the perception of value, the creation of value, and how we are going to keep the corporate value itself. So AI exists to support the existence of a corporate as a whole, and the existence and the maintenance of a value of a company. So there is a life cycle management that we have to consider about this. And this life cycle management, it goes from the idea until the operation. So ISO 42001 governs the entire AI life cycle. And this life cycle, we have like some important stages, and they are first like the strategy and planning, the design and development. Then we have like validation and testing, deployment, monitoring, and by the end of the day, it must have like a continuous improvement and a continuous monitoring. So the alignment is like mostly maintained throughout the whole life cycle. So it's something that never stops. Also, we have to have a connection and a linkage between artificial intelligence to MBV, that is measurable business value. So AI must deliver and must support measurable outcomes. As I told you, it does not exist by itself only in the organization. It exists to support a process, a deliverable, or something that we have like that the corporate is willing to reach. So AI must deliver measurable outcomes. And for this, we have like to establish and to define some examples of KPIs, and these are going to show us like that something is occurring according to the level that we expect. And some examples of like of KPIs, they are revenue increase, cost reduction, process automation rate, risk reduction, decision accuracy and improvement, and also customer satisfaction. So everything should be constantly monitored and managed. And then if something has to be changed, the corporate like will look into those KPIs to change or to adopt a new strategy and a new decision. So AI success must be measured like in the business terms. So it's not something that we can measure according to the operational side, to the efficiency of a software or to the efficiency of technology, but how it's measured and how it is really connected with the business term. How it is by the end of the day adding value to the corporation, adding value to the business value chain, and also adding value to stakeholders and to the clients, to the customers, So we have to really think about a very solid and robust measurable system. Also, in the next level here, we have to think about the operating model for AI alignment. So ISO 42001 also enables the structured AI operations, and there are some important components that I would say key components here. Firstly, as I have constantly mentioned here in the presentation, the governance structure, then the risk framework, the policies and procedures that a company will define to guide everything smoothly and coherently. Then we have to set and define some internal controls and controls for this, general controls. Also to keep like a constant monitoring of our activities and to have a continuous improvement. It's like a PDCA. So, like plan, do, check, act. Everything should be constantly monitored, and if there is a need for some change or some adoption, the corporation should be in charge of this and should take actions to improve the usage of AI in order to add value to the corporation. So let's give here an example of business aligned like AI implementation. So I'm going to give an example to the financial industry as it's mostly like my experience connected with my professional experience. So let's think that we have a bank and this bank is using AI for fraud detection. It's really common, it's really already like implemented and used global, even like by many big global banks and institutions. So the usage here is a banking using AI for fraud detection, and the business goal, there is a business goal. Of course, there is a risk management goal here, but also there is a business goal that is to reduce fraud losses, because by the end of the day, we are both like protecting our client values, our corporate value, our image perception as a whole, but also we are preserving money. We are also avoiding like the company will reduce losing money here. So there is an AI objective to support this objective. And the objective here is like detect fraud faster and more accurately, right? So suppose that we have this situation and the company adopt like an AI software that will reduce all the fraud losses and we identify potential fraud faster. So here we have some some objectives, and ISO for the 2001 will ensure in this situation governance oversight, a robust risk management system, also performance that we have to have a monitoring system, and this monitoring system like will monitor like performance aspects, and also as I told like in the previous slide, we have to have a PDCA here to continuous monitor and to continuous establish better improvements for the whole system. And as a result here, we are going to expect like to have reduced frauds and also reduced money losses and also an increase of the perception of trust, of ethical aspects and of value of the company by the stakeholders and by the customers. So realize here that we have both a tangible and an intangible perception of value here according to this case, this implementation. So increase both our intangible value, our trust value and aspect for the clients, and also we also preserve our financial aspect because we are avoiding losing money by the end of the day. We have to be objective in this side as well. So there are some benefits of ISO 42001 for the organizations. And we can, in a macro aspect, divide these into macro parts. Firstly, we have like strategic benefits that they are, for example, illustrated by ensures that AI supports the business goals by the end of the day. AI also improves the return on investments. From every AI investment, we are going to have like a greater or a better return of those investments, also adding value to the company and stakeholders. We are also reducing the AI risks we are have like more strength or more robust governance as a whole, both for the governance for the systems, for the software, for the art aspects, the technology governance, but also in the corporate governance, and those governance will communicate and be smoothly aligned. Also, we are going like to have like the increase in the executive trust and a better accountability, and also we have a more scalable AI adoption, and it will also occur more smoothly and in a more robust way. And on the other hand, we also have like operational benefits, and they can be illustrated by a clear accountability system, more structured process and decision-making process inside the corporate, not only the way things must happen, but also how decisions must go through the organizations and according to the process, and also a better performance for the monitoring side. Now, if you have to think about an implementation roadmap of AI, for example, even an organization that already has like artificial intelligence system or softwares, but also if a company is starting from the scratch, is starting from zero level, let's say, so we have to think, for example, a robust roadmap that can work well for different kinds and patterns of organizations, not only financial industry. So here I illustrate to you a roadmap for this implementation. Firstly, we have like to assess the current AI maturity of the company. Do we like suppose that I'm talking about on the side of a company, so I would ask myself, I would ask my team, do we already have like some artificial intelligence system implemented, or previous learned lessons that we have like from implemented system, our gaps that we have, or no, if you don't have anything, no, we are starting from scratch, we're starting from zero level. So we should assess this whole environment and assess the current AR maturity of the company. Then, according to this, we go to the second level because we have to define AI governance structure. If we have something implemented, we have to change something, or no, we don't have anything, we have to start designing a governance structure. What do we have to consider according to our needs? Then we go to the third level, that is to identify the business alignment AI objectives. As I told to you, we are not like only adding AI because it's some trend, because it's something new, because it's something uh, that it's, let's say, something that most companies are adopting right now. But no, do we as a company do we really need, do we really have to have an AI system in our company? Will it, by the end of the day, really add value to our business objectives, to our corporate goals, to our stakeholders, Because if it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't add any value, so our company does not need an artificial intelligence based system, right? So on the other hand, if you have some indicators, if you have some evidences that we do need AI based models, of course, then we are going to identify the business alignment for those objectives. We are going to establish like measurable values and perspectives to connect artificial intelligence to the corporate goals. Then on the fourth level, we have to implement risk management process. As I told to you before, like throughout the whole presentation, there is no AI without risk management. So we have to identify how we are going like to manage those risks, how we are going to treat those risks, and the accountability is a must do here because it's connected with like the whole value of the organization. And also, it's important to mention again that those risks can even maybe be something positive. They can even indicate some new business opportunity or even the usage of AI to the corporation. And on the fifth level here, we have to establish a life cycle controls to implement those controls, to monitor those controls, and also constantly being evaluated the controls environment in the organization. And on the sixth step here, like we are going to implement our final and robust roadmap that will be connected with AI technology, algorithms, data, corporate like governance as a whole. And also by the end of the day, and we have to keep monitoring and improve and also looking into improvement opportunities constantly, So this whole roadmap will not exist alone. It should be managed and constantly monitored by the organization and to the appropriate accountability levels. So in the end, we have like a key takeaway for everything that I have said before. So the key takeaway here of this, everything that we talked here is like AI creates values only when aligned with business strategy. Again, AI does not exist only by itself in the organization, so AI must be connected with the business strategy, with the corporate strategy. There is something bigger, you know. AI is only used here as a vehicle to support a business goal, a business value, a business mission, also connected with ethical aspects, and not only adding money value, not only adding like tangible value, you know, but also increase the intangible trust and ethical aspects of the corporation, you know. And ISO 40001, 42001 provides the governance framework to ensure that there is strategic alignment between AI, business goal, and corporate strategy. There must be a risk control and also the appropriate accountability. Also, this ISO mentions to us that artificial intelligence must be used in a very responsible way, and also that there is a business value here, a business value that will occur in a sustainable way, you know. So it's not something that will grow and then fails. No, it should be like there must be sustainability, you know. And ISO 42001 clearly states this to us and encourage us like to do this, you know, a connection between artificial intelligence, a connection between business value, and those two things connected with the macro aspect of the corporate like strategy, the corporate mission. So we can clearly state here that ISO 42001 transforms AI from experimental technology into a controlled strategic business capability. You know, it's like firstly, like when we don't know, maybe when we are not clearly familiarized like with artificial intelligence, we think that will change everything like deeply there. It's going to make like a deeply change into the corporate level, into the organization, but not necessarily this, you know. Like AI can only improve some aspects of the corporation, or AI can, of course, itself can change the corporation as a whole, can like make something very disruptive, but it really those scenarios really depend according to the need of the corporation, according to the objectives of the corporation, you know. So it not exists by itself, as I mentioned many times here. So AI will exist to preserve value, to add value, and to support the corporate mission. So here I also added like to you to see, it's the official link from the ISO for the 2001. If you go to the ISO website, it's a paid document, so you have to pay. But there is like some free parts here. I think from the introduction into the third point here that are like terms and definitions. You can go to introduction, scope, normative references, and terms and definitions. Those parts are free for reading, like you can freely access this. But if you want to have access to the full document, you have to pay. So it's also something that cannot be freely shared, you know, because there is an interest here or a connection like between the preserved value from ISO as an institution. And you can see that ISO 42001 was set in 2023. And I clearly see this ISO as a base, as I told you before, like that will support and sponsor new ISO or new standards that will come out in the future. As I told you before, as ISO 27001 is for information security, and from this ISO, like many other ones, came out later. And also I see that this ISO is going to be the base for a very robust and transparent way for managing and governing AI usage in the organizations. So now I thank you very much for your attention and for participating here. And I open for questions, discussions, and comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for that insightful session. So, yes, as we can see that the platform has now officially opened for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, this is the perfect time to get connected with Carlos directly. So let's see if we are having any questions. Meanwhile, I'm also sharing once again Carlos' LinkedIn in the chat box. So please make sure you're following him on LinkedIn and getting connected with him directly. And you can also reach out to him anytime in the future if you have any questions. And yes, I'm also checking if you are having any questions from the live. So allow me a minute as well. Okay, Carlos, we have one question here. And yes, Ashutosh asked, do you have template on risk assessment?
Um, the question is to have a template on risk assessment, right? There is, yes. Also, for example, if corporational risk or corporate risk, so ISO 30001 provides some like more corporate approach, and also this ISO makes some consideration, yes. But it's important to mention that, for example, when we have to define framework for risk assessment or risk like treatment, there are some best practices. We have like many frameworks like in the market that are used. Like we have like the code IT, we have like I2 that is more operational. It's not more corporate. I2 is more in the way IT deliver values and deliver products, But also we have NIST. We have many other like frameworks that can um, add value and add some frameworks. But it's important to mention that an organization itself can also build its own internal framework according to its needs, to its previous like gaps and identified risks.
Thank you so much for that answer, Carlos. And yes, the other question is, what is the biggest difficulty in implementing an ISO 42001 AIMS?
Okay. So I would say that the biggest challenge here, or let's say the biggest difficult thing, is that everything when it's new to a corporation or organization, it has like maybe it makes us like to make some changes. Maybe according to the need or the proposal of the usage of artificial intelligence, it's something more operational. But on the other hand, if you have some usage or some application that is more strategic, maybe we have like to change like some like hierarchy of the corporation. So according to the usage and to the need of artificial intelligence, we have like to make some changes. And I would say that the biggest challenge is not like to do the monitoring. Of course, like it's something maybe challenging, but I would say that it is to have a clear accountability inside the company, and also to make the coherent and also to appropriate changes. Because maybe the corporate like maybe may feel like the executive level may feel a little let's say maybe it's not the best adjective, but may feel lost, and also they don't do the clear decisions that they have to do. So when you are adopting a new technology, we have to identify risks from the beginning. There must be a clear accountability and to make the necessary changes. Maybe some corporations that they are on a learning curve, they are adopting technologies, making monitoring, making identification of risks, and also treating them, but they are not making the ideal changes into the corporation accountability, decisions, and structures. So I would say that this is the most difficult thing.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And yes, Sanjay also asked, what exactly assessed about current AI maturity? Please elaborate.
I didn't understand. Say again.
What exactly is assessed about current AI maturity? Please elaborate.
Okay. So, for example, there is an AI. The question is how to make the AI maturity assessment, right? Okay, thank you. So, for example, how to do that assessment? For example, suppose that as a company already make an assessment of its own like legacy systems or traditional systems, we have to understand, for example, of course, like OpenAI. Let's give an example. OpenAI, like the company from ChatGPT, it's a company that was born in artificial intelligence system software. You know, it's the mission of the company. So the if you have to make an assessment of the AI maturity, it's a company that is mature because it's extremely dependent on AI, artificial intelligence system. You know, artificial intelligence is the business, is the core, is the mission, is the value. So it is connected like with the usage of AI, with the corporate mission and business goal, right? But this maturity meant we have to think, for example, first, do we already use some artificial intelligence systems? So if you don't use anything, you are in a low maturity level, you know? Secondly, do we already use something or do we need like to improve this? You know, so maybe you are in something more from the beginning. But if you already use artificial intelligence, but like if you need to use something more, if you need to use something different, this maturity level is a whole assessment of the resources that we have, how you use this, how secure you are to use about that, the risks that are connected with that. Are you monitoring those risks? Are you in appropriate level? And also, by the end of the day, if the usage of artificial intelligence is supporting the business goals and the corporate goal, you know. So the maturity level is assessment as a whole in those approaches.
Thank you so much for that meaningful answer, Carlos. And then you also asked us, do we need to have knowledge of enterprise risk management?
Yes, it's important to have, for example, for every organization, because by the end of the day, you are everything that is connected, like AI being used to support business goals, business missions, will also affect like the corporate goal. But there is an extremely connection, and every corporation must, for example, have a well implemented risk management framework, internal controls, the third line of defense that is audit, or the second line of defense that are internal controls and risk management areas. So every corporation must have this structure clearly defined. And also there is a connection between the AI risks with the corporate risks, you know. So they don't occur like isolated, you know. So we have to connect them. And there, how can I say, it doesn't depend on the technology being used. It depends on the existence of a company. And once a company exists, it must monitor its enterprise risks, you know.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And I'm also taking few of the questions from the live. And how can AI initiatives be aligned with overall business objectives?
Okay, this is a very important question that every company must do before adopting AI. You know, first of all, we are a company. You know, so we want, for example, by the end of the day, we offer a solution to our clients. We offer value. We offer something that we can have a perception of the value. You know, so we are not going to start using AI only because we want to use. You know, we have to have clearly, as I told, like indicators, measurable things that we can establish and see that it does justify to use AI. You know, suppose that, for example, you can implement AI according to different demands or needs. You know, in the example that I told you, I illustrated an example that bank wants to use AI to monitor and to reduce fraud, you know. So is it like justifiable to have AI? Yes, it is, because we are going to implement AI to avoid like losing money and also to increase the value of the company like in the secure and ethical aspects, right? So it does justify using AI because we are, by the end of the day, saving money and attracting more clients confidently, right? So it does justify use AI. If we can see that AI can be used to reduce a cost of a process, operational costs, for example, I'm going to implement a software here, then I don't have to pay. I reduce the overall cost of let's say X process, you know, X Y process, just illustrating. So it does justify to use AI. So it does depend on the objective or on the perception of value that you can have in the end of the day. You can go to something more operational. You can go to something that, oh, I'm going to implement AI because I'm going to reduce some costs. I'm going to have more efficient. I'm going to do something faster and easier. Or no, I'm going to use AI because I want to increase the value of the company. I want to reach a different market. I want to expand to a new kind of customer, so or because I can save money. By the end of the day, you should the corporate, like the board executives, the decision makers of the company must have clear those questions and have to have in mind what will be the benefits of using this AI. Will those AI add value to a process? Will those AI add value to the corporate as a whole? So yes, it's justifiable to use AI.
Thank you. Why do many companies still not implement ISO 42001 to reduce AI risk? Is the question Dan is asking.
Um, so let me say the question again. Why do companies don't use yet ISO for the 2001? Is this?
To reduce AI risks.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Because let's say, for example, that ISO firstly, you have to have in mind, as I told in the beginning, that you have to have some clear concepts. ISO is a best practice, so ISO is not mandatory. However, the word overall, many companies do accept like ISO as best practice and something also that supports some regulation, but ISO is not mandatory, right? So is a company expected in like of course, by the stakeholders, yes, stakeholders expect best practice, right? But is a company is it mandatory to follow ISO? No. And I think that, for example, as this ISO is something really new, it's for 2023. So we are practically 2.5, like 3 years from this ISO, right? So it's something new. Then we have also what was questioned here before. We have the maturity level. I think that most companies do not use yet like purely artificial intelligence. So we are more into initial or embryonic like stages of the maturity level of usage by AI. Of course, it has increased a lot, like recently, mainly like in 2025 last year. So I guess that for the next like 2, 3 years, companies will like use more AI softwares, more AI systems to make decisions, to help like identify risks, to monitor like things. So I think that companies do not fully eat yet because we are in a initial stage, and also because it's not mandatory, but it is a best practice. Also because some companies are using other standards, other frameworks, other ISOs, even ISO 30001, to guide the risk management approach for AI systems solutions. So I think that's because they don't purely use the ISO yet, ISO 42001.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for that insightful answer. And Sanjay also asks us, organizations already implemented ISO to 20,000 and 27,000. They will have certain advantage while implementing ISO 42,000, or it's totally independent affair.
I guess that, for example, they can implement all together, they don't affect or they don't conflict each other, even because ISO, as an organization, when they are going, like, for example, to establish and to design a new ISO, they also make a reference to previous ISOs. So they are all aligned. So there is no conflict, like, or let's say, um, how can I say this? There is no fail, like, in monitoring. On the other hand, like, they are on the opposite. They are strengthening together. They are all connected with each other. And also, for example, ISO 27001 is the basis for information security. Also, GDPR is based in this ISO. So it's the basis for best practices. It's the basis for to keeping information under according the appropriate levels of security. And also, when we think about, for example, that a company is okay with this ISO, it will also strengthen support the implementation of ISO for the 2001. So they work well together, aligned, and there is no conflict.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And Yes, I'm taking one more question from the live. So it says that how can organizations measure the success of their AI strategy?
So,
Uh, yeah.
how can organizations?
How can organizations measure the success of their AI strategy?
Okay, that's a good question. Also, as I told, like in the presentation, that it can, like, for example, set many indicators. But again, we have to have in mind what was the purpose of using that AI system. Then, for example, we have an initial proposal. As I told, like, we have like many questions. Firstly, why do we have to use AI? What is the objective of this? It's something more operational, something more strategic, and then we have like to set some indicators. For example, suppose that my objective was to use AI to reduce costs related to a process. Then I'm going to see to monitor like the cost that I have intrinsically to that process, right? So if my costs reduce after like the adoption of that AI, then I can measure that it was successful. So the adoption was positive. On the other hand, if I use AI like to reach a more, let's say, a strategic like return on investment of the company, then I want to have something more, let's say, bigger. Then I also will measure the return on investment that I have after implemented that AI system. So it depends on the nature of the AI system used. It depends on the context of the application of that software, that AI technology, and depends on the alignment between the business objectives and the corporate objectives. Then, according to those scenarios, I'm going to establish indicators, and I'm going to use those indicators to see if I was successful or not in implementing that AI technology.
Thank you so much, Carlos. So I guess, yes, that was the last question for today. And before we call this session off, I would like to tell you all that consider following Carlos on his LinkedIn. And Carlos, would you like to give us any final statement before?